And good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to another live Xanadu Gallery online critique group session. Today is an Ask Me Anything session. I love these sessions because we get to get a broad array of different questions. And I want to jump right into it. We've got a lot of great questions today. My hope is to get through as many of them as I can. And hopefully at the same time, give us some depth of response to your questions. And so I'm going to jump into our first question from Daryl Erdman, who was one of our featured artists this last month. And he has a question about social media. Let me just pull it up real quick here. This is a question about Instagram, but it also applies to Facebook business posts. On Instagram, when you post a pic of your work, it says you can boost it. How much does it cost to boost on each time you post? And so this is an interesting opportunity that we have on social media. It wasn't so long ago, several years ago, where social media offered a great promise that we would be able to connect with potential buyers of our work in an organic way. You know, as we were posting artwork, making connections, and people are following us, that it would lead to these great opportunities to share artwork and find buyers and, as I say, nurture these relationships very easily. And that did occur for a while, and then the social media networks figured out that they needed to make money, that they were in business and needed to generate revenue. And so the solution to do this was that if there were businesses attempting to generate sales on these social media platforms, which as artists and certainly as an art gallery, you all and I were in essence advertising and marketing on these platforms, and they decided that they needed to monetize that. And so the reach that our posts would have started to decrease, the organic reach, that reach that we were getting just by nature of being there and sharing and making connections. And in order to start to reach—
I don't know how to get it to work.
Oh, hold on, I'm getting some audio.
See if it works on here. No.
Now I muted myself as well. There we go. Now I'm back. Okay. So what ended up happening was that in order to start to get that reach back, you had to start paying for it. And, you know, that's maybe not quite as ideal a situation, but we are spending most of our advertising dollars now, or at least a good percentage of our advertising dollars, on social media advertising. Even though we're not getting the same kind of free outreach that we were, we have found that the value of social media advertising makes the investment worthwhile. And so the power of social media advertising is that it has democratized our ability to reach potential buyers. You know, for an artist, it used to be that you might have to spend several $1,000s to get an ad in an art magazine, or Google came along that we have to spend heavily to get search results showing our work. And we just ultimately found that the ad dollar spend on social media has been more effective and less expensive. And Santana, I keep getting you unmuted. I'm getting background noise. So if I can, I'm going to mute you, and we just have you come in when we have room for discussion a little bit later on. Now, as an artist, as you're deciding, let me see, I'm getting some notes that my sound is a little bad. Is that true? Are you getting a little bit of static? Let's see how I can fix this. Hold on one second here. All right, let's try that again. Is that any better? Does that give me a little bit better audio? I'm not sure what that was, but I just reset my microphone. So back to social media and Instagram, the opportunity is that for a relatively small investment, we can start to get some additional reach with our work. And what I would suggest is that it's not advisable to willy-nilly just start spending money on Instagram and Facebook boosts, or Twitter has a version of this as well where you can promote tweets. I would instead suggest that you'd want to be working towards a concerted social media advertising strategy where you're thinking long term. And primarily what I would suggest the first thing to be looking for would be to be building followers for your Instagram account, preferably an Instagram business profile or your Facebook business profile. And that the idea is we want to set up an opportunity for us to be able to reach potential buyers repeatedly. And that's where I would be focusing my efforts. Now, there's a lot more to it that I can talk about here, but I would suggest that if that's of interest to you, and if you're interested in pursuing social media advertising, that's where I would start. And you can start for just a dollar a day, $30 a month. Can be enough to start to build a followership. But I would suggest that if you think, well, I'm just going to post this great piece of artwork and I'll boost it for a couple of dollars and see what happens, I think you're going to be disappointed with the results. Yes, occasionally you might have, a random person on Instagram or Facebook respond and make a purchase. But it's going to be so far and few between that that's going to occur that I suspect you're going to run out of enthusiasm for the platform before that does happen. So I would look towards a more long-term strategy of building followers as a starting point. We talk more about this in the Art Business Academy and talk about strategies for doing that. And we can certainly have future conversations about that here. Juanita asks a question. Let me pull her question up so we can all see it. The prices I list now are lower than most gallery prices. When applying to galleries, do they work with an artist to upgrade prices or ignore them due to their lower prices? And is it better to raise prices before submitting? And finally, does an artist list framed prices or unframed? So as you're preparing to submit to galleries, this is a great question. Pricing is going to be one of the fundamentals that a gallery is going to be considering as they're looking at your work and thinking about how your work might fit into their gallery space. They're also going to be thinking, at least subconsciously, wondering maybe how established you are, how well you might sell. And we want to, as much as possible, present ourselves as a ready-made package of art that is going to start selling immediately once you start showing my artwork. In essence, we're marketing to this gallery, and what we're marketing to them is sales. We are encouraging them to take a little bit of a risk on our work. They don't know for sure if it's going to sell or not, and we want to reassure them that that risk is worthwhile. And so my suggestion is that we want to work towards presenting a portfolio that is showing gallery prices that are going to be in line with the galleries that we're submitting to. Now, granted, even within any grouping of galleries that we might be submitting to, there might be a pretty significant range of prices. We just wouldn't want to be dramatically below all of the prices in those galleries or dramatically above. And so we want to be working towards a strategy where we can confidently present that price. And there may be, and even when we do that, there may be some galleries who are going to then have a conversation with us about, we think that your work is nice, your prices look good, but we think we could do a little better. What would you think about raising them a little bit as we start showing your work? Or they might say, well, this feels a little bit high for us. Would you consider? And that conversation can start, but I would prefer to begin that conversation, within the ballpark of price points that they would be considering. That kind of gets us beyond the step of them saying, opening your portfolio and saying, oh, this work is okay, but boy, these prices are so low. This seems like it might be an artist who doesn't have a lot of experience or isn't very confident about their work, or even more than that, they might just say, oh, this is too low for us. We can't justify these price points. And so This is not an uncommon conundrum for an artist to run into as they're thinking about doing outreach to galleries. Many artists, in order to show in local art events or art festivals and outdoor shows, might feel that they have to somewhat repress their price points below what they would expect in a gallery. And up until you have your very first gallery, you can run dual price points to a certain extent, where you've created a portfolio of work at gallery prices that you're submitting to galleries, but you're maintaining those lower prices as you're showing in local art events. And until you then have a gallery say, yes, we want to represent you and we want to show your work, it's okay to be selling at those lower price points. Once you have a gallery, then yes, your pricing needs to be consistent. You're going to need to consider either not showing in the events that you've been showing in, or raising your prices at those events to be in line with the gallery prices. We're looking for other additional venues where you can show your work, but we want to come in with as much confidence as we can. The standard in the industry is to include all framing and presentation prices in the work, in the retail price that you're showing. And so that portfolio price that you're going to be showing would be the price point at which the artwork would be showing in the gallery. And so we need to consider, okay, I'm going to need to be able to cover my presentation and framing costs out of that. There's going to be a gallery commission that comes out of that, and I need to be comfortable that the remainder is going to provide me with the profit that I need to see on the sale of that artwork. I'm sure we'll be having more conversations about pricing. Those seem to come in every month, but thank you for that question. Let me go to a question from Debbie. And Debbie is in the process of doing outreach to galleries and says, I've been researching galleries that seem like a good fit for my artwork. I have 73 on my list so far, so that's a good start on the list. Only one has asked for a PDF portfolio. All others ask for 3 to 15 JPEGs. If I send my PDF portfolio rather than the JPEGs they ask for, am I risking the gallery reviewer tossing out my submission simply because I did not follow their exact instructions? So this is an interesting question and kind of points to some of the challenges that you can have as you're doing outreach to galleries. For those of you who maybe haven't taken one of my workshops or aren't in the Art Business Academy, my suggestion is that you want to build a nice, deep, rich list of galleries that you're going to put your portfolio out to, that you want to play the numbers a little bit and have as many gallery owners reviewing your work as possible. Well, as you're building that list, the most natural way to do it is to do some internet searches for galleries and markets that you're interested in approaching, or to go to some of the lists of galleries, gallery guides, and those kind of things online, and look for gallery websites. And Debbie's right, there are going to be some galleries certainly that are going to have, if you will, a kind of preconceived notion of how they want to receive submissions of artwork and even a process. It does surprise me a little bit to hear, Debbie, you say that only, well, actually, it surprised me that there was even one asking for a PDF portfolio. But I'm also surprised that so many, you mentioned all of them are asking for specific submissions, 3 to 15 JPEGs. As I've looked at gallery websites and submissions, and as I've worked with many artists who are submitting, the majority of galleries that we're encountering online don't really give much in the way of guidance on how to submit. A lot of times we're looking for an email address and maybe sometimes even having a little bit of a hard time finding that, or we're contacting the gallery to ask for their submission process. I am still absolutely an advocate of the PDF portfolio. Many of you have done the little mini course, if you will, that I've set up that shows you how to create a digital portfolio and export it as a PDF. That format has absolutely been the most effective way that we have found to help artists get into galleries. And that's how I'm receiving a lot of portfolios now. I guess what I would say is that I wonder if 72 of these galleries really said that, or if you're finding that some of them are just not saying anything at all, and some of them then are asking for submissions this way. My suggestion would be to go ahead and kind of get your portfolio going and be systematic about sending it out. What you're going to find is that a gallery that is interested in your work, that your portfolio catches their attention, either is just going to jump straight to saying, let's talk, or if they are sticklers about the process, they may say, oh, we like your work. Please go ahead and follow our submission guidelines and send some images in. Most galleries, and it makes me wonder a little bit, Debbie, in your case, and feel free to follow up with an email if you want to expand on this. It may be that you're looking at maybe not as many commercial galleries, but maybe more institutional galleries that do tend to have more formal processes for review and want things formatted in a certain way. We just haven't found that commercial galleries are quite as strict isn't the right word, but quite as insistent on their process. And so follow up. But I would still suggest that the most efficient way to get your portfolio out to as many galleries as possible is to create the PDF. Look for either a submission email address or an owner's email address, and get that portfolio out to as many as you can. And then you'll find that you can work your way through any of the issues that might arise about them wanting it in a different format. A question from Alicia in Littleton, Colorado. Let me get her question up. Is it normal for a gallery owner to ask for a Word document of my bio and artist statement? She said she wanted to be able to cut and paste from it for her website. So Alicia, I think first we need to congratulate you. It sounds like you have new gallery representation, which is awesome. Congratulations on that. And I would say, yes, this is fairly normal. And in fact, artists who are showing in my gallery have often received a similar request. We will take your biography and artist statement in whatever format it's in, a PDF or whatever, but we're likely also going to ask for the Word document or a simple text document to allow us to easily add that to the website. The problem with PDF is great for maintaining formatting and images and layout. So it's good to be able to share through email with our collectors, but it is hard to cut and paste from a PDF. And so if we're adding it to the website and getting it into our formatting, that's exactly what we request. So yes, this would not be at all uncommon. And if you're easily able to do it, I would recommend you comply with this request and provide the document to them so they can easily promote your work online. And by the way, we use that not only on our website, but when we're doing email marketing, we're using your biographical and artist statement information. We're using it on social media. And so whatever we can do to facilitate the use of those documents that you've put some real effort into creating, we want to do that. This question from Leanne in Minneapolis. Let's get that up. Is it frowned upon, the gallery owners, for the artist to sell prints of work in fairs and online, and to be in or seek representation in a gallery? Also in the same idea, to sell gift items with artist artwork on product cards, scarves, t-shirts, etc. Yeah, this is a great question too. And many of you may run into this question, as there are many more opportunities now, thanks to the print on demand industry, for an artist to be able to promote their work, not only through multiple channels, but in multiple formats. And I, as a business person, I think this makes a lot of sense, that you are investing your time, you're building your skills to create the imagery that you're creating. And certainly one important manifestation and opportunity to sell that imagery is through the original artwork. And obviously as a gallery owner, that's where a lot of my focus is. But to me, it also makes sense for you to take advantage of other opportunities to reach additional potential audiences, which certainly the print market opens up the potential reach for your artwork dramatically. And the other items, gift items, you mentioned, cards, scarves, mugs, iPhone cases. There's just a whole host of opportunities available now. And that's an opportunity for you as an artist to leverage your imagery and reach a broader audience and potentially generate a higher level of revenue. And so certainly worth considering. Now, that's not to say that it is an easy way to quickly boost your sales and go from starving artist to multimillionaire. There is going to be effort involved in whatever avenues you're pursuing. And in most cases, you're likely going to still have to work toward bringing your own audience to the platforms that provide print or print on demand items. And so we kind of need to think of that in terms of our overall broader strategy and business model. Some gallery owners may be a little bit uncomfortable with this, but what my experience has been, certainly my own personal experience, and as I've interacted with many artists and other gallery owners, I think there is this growing realization coming that it not only is it smart for an artist to have multiple channels to potentially sell their artwork, but that it's actually beneficial for all of us to be working to build brand recognition for an artist, to cultivate buyers who may not today be able to invest in original works, but ultimately may be cultivated into collectors that are buying originals. And so why wouldn't we take advantage of those opportunities? And certainly I don't see and have never experienced any downside. I've never had a collector come to me and say, "Oh, Jason, I was going to purchase tens of thousands of dollars worth of this artist's work, but then I found out that they're selling prints and I've decided I don't want to do that." Or I found out they're selling t-shirts and now I'm not going to make the purchase. And in fact, I've seen some of the opposite of that, where we get a sense that our collectors, well, I'll say not only a sense, but I've seen collectors who have bought originals from us and discovered later that the artist does produce prints and other items and have purchased them as gifts or even for themselves. And so my hope is you may run into some pockets of resistance among galleries over this. My hope, though, is that that we're seeing kind of a tide change in the way we all think about the opportunities to sell work. And I even have seen, as I have the opportunity to visit many galleries, that some galleries are expanding their reach. We are doing this in our Pine Top gallery, not so much in Scottsdale because our volume of sales of originals is so strong here that we can't dedicate the space to lower priced items. But in our Pine Top gallery, we get a little different audience there and a different traffic flow. And we have expanded into some items that could be considered, craft or even gift and prints, certainly. And so that's been an opportunity to reach a broader audience there. And again, it's the same idea that, well, if I can get someone into the gallery and get them on my mailing list because they've purchased a $35 item, that then gives me an opportunity to work toward building a relationship with them to hopefully eventually make other purchases. So worth considering. Again, it's not an easy way, but worth thinking about doing. I've got a comment or a question from Carol in Ontario. Let me get her question up. What happens, and again, full disclosure, Carol is in the our Art Business Academy and in the process of submitting to galleries. And so the question is, what happens if you send out all these artist submissions thinking that you might or might not hear back, and all of a sudden you receive emails from 5 galleries who are interested in representing them? This hasn't happened, by the way. It's a what if and I wish question. Of course, you'd want to be represented by all of them, but I realize you have very little artwork available right now. What would be the best way to handle this situation? Yes, it's a great question, and certainly to a certain extent, you're right. somewhat wishful thinking, but it can happen. And I have been working with artists who have seen something along these lines occur where, as I mentioned earlier, my recommendation is to be, to a certain extent, flooding the gallery market with our portfolio and just getting it out to as many galleries as possible. And so sometimes the question will come, well, should I submit to the galleries I really, really want to be in first and then give them some time and wait before I send to the other galleries? And my recommendation is we don't have the time to be quite that precious with our submission process and getting our portfolio out to galleries. The likelihood of any one particular gallery on your list of galleries responding favorably, realistically, is fairly low. And so in order to achieve efficiency and to get the numbers working in our favor, we just need to have that portfolio going out to as many galleries as we can. And so, it does lead to this potential scenario. Now, it doesn't happen very often. And what will typically happen is that the gallery that is interested in your work will respond to you, and that will put you in a position where you kind of put your other submissions on pause for a moment. Okay, I'm now engaged with this gallery. I'm going to work my way through and see if we can figure out representation. And then I'll get back to the submission process. And likely, if I get representation in a particular geographic area, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and be submitting to galleries that are outside of that particular area so that I don't have overlap. And likely the gallery is going to have an exclusivity clause anyway. Now, if you did happen to find yourself in this situation where you've been submitting and several galleries have responded at once, and I have seen it happen, you're then in the enviable position to be able to select which gallery you feel might be the best fit. Certainly, we're going to be diplomatic about our response to the other galleries, but as we're looking at those galleries that are interested in our work, and we find the one that we feel is the best fit, we're just simply going to reach out to the other galleries and say, thank you so much for your interest in my work. I actually have had another gallery in your local area who's been in touch with me, and I've ended up signing a contract with them and being represented with them. But I look forward to keeping in touch with you in the future, et cetera, et cetera. You see how I'm trying to be kind of diplomatic there, and just professional. And the gallery owner, hopefully they're going to feel a little bit disappointed. Oh, I really liked your work. I'm sorry, I'm not going to have the opportunity to represent you. But it's not going to be at least in 999 cases out of 1,000, it's not going to be a huge negative or cause any problems. Maybe you'll get a gallery owner whose nose is a little bit bent out of shape. Why did you even submit to me? And it happens. We just roll on, and everyone will have forgotten about it in a few days anyway, and you'll be in good shape. So, Carol, we'll look forward to hearing from you if you do run into that situation. And again, you can email me, and I can help you work through any of the challenges that might come from that. James has also a submission question, and he says, getting the Google slideshow together for gallery presentations and wondered about pictures and the frame. I make custom frames out of exotic woods that enhance the art and don't know if I should include them in the pictures or not. Yeah, so typically and I mentioned this in the tutorial on creating a digital portfolio, typically we're not including the frame in, at least not in all of the images. And part of the reason we're doing that is because, one, it's just simpler for formatting purposes to only include the image of the artwork. If you've put together a portfolio, you know that cropping the images with a frame can present some real challenges in terms of getting it squared off, getting the lighting right, not having the frame produce an unattractive shadow on the top or side of the artwork. And so it's just a lot simpler to get my shot, crop it into the artwork, and put it in the portfolio. And in most cases, that's going to be sufficient. Now, even when you're doing that, I do recommend including a couple of images, 2 or 3 images, maybe at the back of the portfolio that show the artwork in a space, on a wall in a home or in a business space, both to give me a sense of context and scale of work to show the presentation. It also sends a good message to the gallery owner. Hey, look, this artwork looks really great in this space. It will look good in my gallery. It'll look good in my collectors' homes. And so there's some benefits to doing that. And so for most artists, that's going to be sufficient. 20, 25 images, not showing the frame, and then a few images showing the artwork installed with the frame, or however you're presenting the artwork. And by the way, this applies to sculptures too, with bases and that kind of thing. But in this case, it is a little bit of a different scenario. If the frame is integral to your creative process and makes your work unique and stand out, and if there is quite a bit of variety between the frames on different works, in other words, if it's a part of your aesthetic process to create and include the frame, that would be an argument for figuring out a good way to photograph the work, maybe setting up some studio space with good lighting and a way that you can get a squared on image of the artwork. It would be a good argument for including that. The way I would think about it is, there are frames where we feel, yeah, this frame enhances the artwork and looks good on it. But if a client wanted to change it, they certainly could. I'm not married to this frame. In those cases, it's not as critical to show the frame. But I have had artists where the artwork extends onto the frame, or the frame itself is a part of the composition of the artwork. And in those cases, we would want to go ahead and include it. This is from Bonnie. This is not even a question. It's just a statement. Bonnie, I did get into a gallery, a small one, but a start. And so again, Bonnie, we just throw congratulations out here. That's awesome. Glad to hear that you were able to get representation. And we'll look forward to hearing about your first sales in this gallery. This question from Anika in Florida. What would you say is your percent of sales as compared to the number of visitors to your gallery? In other words, how badly should I feel when actual sales are a small percentage of people walking through the door? I'm an artist with a studio and a small gallery space up front. Our art district advertises open studios several days each month, as well as other special events. As a result, there are many visitors to my studio gallery. I'm most interested in creating and don't consider myself to be any good at sales. Yes, so in essence, Anika, you have two professions. You are an artist, but you're also a gallery owner. And so it's good to be asking these questions. I suspect that many of us here and many of those who will be watching this recording can empathize with your assessment of your sales abilities, that we don't feel like we're great salespeople. I would encourage you to invest some time in learning some sales skills. I happen to be able to humbly recommend a great book called How to Sell Art that I wrote, that would be a good place to start thinking about perfecting your sales skills. And if you've got a gallery space and you're having an opportunity to interact with the public and make sales, that investment in educating yourself on the sales process is going to have a tremendous potential to pay dividends over time. And not only is it going to increase your the sales and the revenue that you're creating, but it's also going to increase your enjoyment of that process as you become, it's analogous to creating artwork, that as you become more skillful in composition and using materials, you start to enjoy the process more. And salesmanship is not something you're born with, and it's not something that you can inherit. It is a skill just like any other skill, and if you can start to acquire and hone some basic skills, it's going to be a process that becomes much more enjoyable. And in this case, where you've got the opportunity to interact with the public and sell your work, why wouldn't you take advantage of that opportunity? Now, to your question, and you're starting to ask the right kinds of questions. This question of how many people, of the people who are coming in, are purchasing. We call that conversion. What is the rate of our visitorship who is ending up making some kind of purchase? And we have looked at those numbers very carefully. We have had periods where we've had a clicker where we're counting the number of people who are coming through the front door. Now, we don't do this all the time. We've got many things going on, and I can't afford to have my staff dedicating all of their time to making the clicker run and getting those numbers. And so, but we do that from time to time just to get a sense of where we are. What is our traffic flow? What are our total sales, and what is our conversion rate? How well are we doing at inviting people to purchase and then guiding them through the process and helping them make a purchase? And if you think about this, you wouldn't expect if I start thinking to myself, I'm aiming for a 100% conversion rate. I want everyone who walks into this gallery to walk out with a piece of artwork. We would be setting ourselves up for failure and disappointment, because that is just not going to happen. No matter how great a salesperson I am or my staff is, the simple fact of the matter is that not everyone who crosses our threshold is going to respond to the artwork that we have. In fact, it's most of the visitors either aren't going to be aesthetically interested, or perhaps are not going to be in a position where they're ready to make a purchase. Maybe they don't have the appropriate space for artwork right now. Maybe they're engaged in other activities that would prevent them from buying artwork, or maybe they just don't have the budget available to them to be able to buy. Our job is to work towards helping all of those who are in a position to be able to buy and are interested in the artwork to end up converting. I wish I could pull some stats out of my head of our numbers. I can't. It's been long enough since we've run the conversion numbers that I just don't remember the exact figures. But if I had to guess, I mean, it's not 10%. It's somewhere south of 10% of total conversion. At least in our Scottsdale gallery, our conversion percentage in Pine Top is actually higher, which we could congratulate ourselves over, but that might be premature, because actually what the challenge there is that we don't have nearly the traffic. But in Scottsdale, the majority of, certainly the super majority of people who come into the gallery are just enjoying themselves or enjoying seeing the art, and don't end up making a purchase. Now, we're still engaging with each and every person who walks through the door, and we're trying to make them feel welcome. We're trying to educate them about the artists that we're representing and create an experience for them. And sometimes we're able to make sales to people who, if you had done a survey on the street before they came into the gallery and asked them, are you out to buy some art today? How likely are you to make a purchase today? They might have said, oh, I'm just out enjoying the day. I'm a tourist. I'm not going to buy anything. And we are fortunate enough to be able to go ahead and make a sale to that person. And of course, that's exciting. But you just know that there is going to be a certain large percentage of people that you're engaging with that you're not going to sell to. Do we beat ourselves up over that? No, we do not. Do we work to continually hone our skill at engaging and helping people make purchases? Yes. Is it witchcraft where we are manipulating people into buying? No, it's not. We just want to create the environment and have the skill set that we need to be able to help as many people as we can enrich their lives with great art. We're duty bound to do that as a gallery, and that's what we're working towards. And so, Anika, I would just encourage you to maybe work towards changing your mindset a little bit. What can happen is you can start to feel discouraged, And you can convince yourself that you're not a great salesperson, and that can be a kind of a negative reinforcement loop that just makes it harder and harder to be successful in what you're doing. And so I would encourage you to look at it as a great fun opportunity to be doing something new and different. I would be looking for the victories every time there's a sale. I would celebrate it, and I would analyze what I'm doing. What did I do with this client that seemed to help them move toward a purchase? And what can I do even better next time for those that I didn't convert to a purchase? What could I be doing to better engage with them? And it's a challenge. I've been doing it for almost 30 years now. And I still have much to learn, and I still have circumstances where I'm working with someone who I'm convinced could have and should have made a purchase, and it didn't happen. And I'm working to figure out why it didn't happen and what I can do to do better next time. And certainly if I have room to learn, you do too. And so I would encourage you to engage in that opportunity, but take advantage of it. You've got a great opportunity to work. I did not get to nearly all of your questions. I think I got to about half or maybe 3/4 of your questions. So for those of you who submitted questions and I didn't get to them, please submit them again next month. We do this Ask Me Anything session every third Wednesday. I said that, and then I'm realizing actually there might be a small hiatus coming for us in the month of May as we're getting geared up to move up to Pine Top. That involves a little bit of disruption, but we will be back here. We will have another of these sessions. We do Q&A sessions like this every week in the Art Business Academy, so I'll plug that. If you have more questions that you'd like to have answered, you can join us there. But otherwise, we will be back here. We will be having additional regular sessions where we're looking at each other's work coming up, so keep an eye out on emails. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your questions. Be well.